Hello, everyone. My name is Robert J. Gannon. I am the creator of Haunted, a Slip Story, and I wanted to take you through part of the game today. Haunted, a Slip Story is an interactive weird fiction collection game written, illustrated, and scored by me. The stories connect over time as the branching narrative constantly circles back on itself and gives you the option to go back in time and try out some of the earlier choices you might have skipped the first time around, but you have more knowledge with every step you go of what came before. It is all controlled with the mouse. If you want to adjust the volume, the slider is in the left here. I'm going to pull it down just a bit for me, and let's get started. So all the illustrations are hand drawn by me. It's mixed media art, then processed through a computer afterwards. No one else was going to dig up the bodies. That's the number one lesson you learned when you started haunting your house. Everyone would ooh and ah at the joy of spooky season, but they disappeared the second you asked them to even hold a ladder. Buying a new prop every year wasn't sustainable on your budget, and you had the tools and skills to do it yourself every time. You let the supplies guide your theme every year. It was an easy way not to overthink it. The haunts were easy, inviting, and ultimately unnerving. Everywhere you looked, there was another detail that brought the story into focus. The local farm had the most beautiful selection of pumpkins this year. You didn't even know some of these colors, sizes, and shapes existed. Three caught your eye, but only one could ground the haunt this year. Which one? We've reached our first choice. Let's go Faded Jade. The jade pumpkin seemed to glow from within. Shades of soft greens and blues spilled over its bumpy surface. Your eye had nowhere to rest. You lost yourself to the unpredictable patterns swirling across the rind. The lights were the key to this haunt. With the right equipment, the house could have looked like another dimension, the world you know distorted under pulsing lights. This haunt was a takeover, an unforeseeable force exerting its will over the mortal coil for one night. The possibilities for an alternate dimension haunt were limitless. The possibilities for an alternate dimensional haunt were limitless. Two big projects came to mind immediately. Another branch, another switch in how the game plays. Let's paint first. So these illustrations started with a photograph that I turned to line art, printed out, and then illustrated over. You'll see how they evolve. The jade pumpkin had such a delicate blend of colors. They suggested an alternate reality where the gold and orange of a pumpkin were always meant to be greens and blues. They had to be amped up to stand out. You dug through your paint shelf for all those colors you saved from the final show at the abandoned theater. They did some kind of spin on a mermaid play that didn't make much sense, but did give you a lifetime supply of cool tone colors. The plan was simple. You amped up what the jade pumpkins already had. The blues could be as dark as midnight, the greens as rich as a forest. With a little water on the brush, they would blend into the shades in between as you followed the natural patterns of the pumpkins. You hadn't counted on the surface being so porous. These pumpkins seemed to swallow the paint, absorbing the pigments and plastics to strengthen their bumpy exteriors. The paint laid down easy, but disappeared before it dried. You walked away to rethink your options. Was there a primer that could work on a pumpkin? Would sandpaper just speed up the inevitable decay? Maybe the paint went bad years ago and you never noticed. When you came back, the color had taken. The jade pumpkins appeared ready to explode in bursts of lime and teal and aqua, when they barely whispered sea foam and baby nursery before. The world seemed to slow as you rocked the pumpkin in your hands, tilting this way and that to watch how the colors shifted. They were still changing before your eyes. You could get lost to time itself watching the colors settle on these pumpkins. Nothing seemed to matter except watching the effects stretch further. The rest of the haunt couldn't finish itself. You had another project to do. It's time for the portal. So now my hand is covered in paint, I assume. You always wanted to build a laser vortex for your yard haunt. It wasn't as complicated as it looked. You could build one with a laser pointer, a mirror, a motor, and a fog machine. The laser pointed at the mirror spun on the motor, and the motor created a circle broken up by the fog in the air. You could do better than that. This haunt deserved a proper portal to another dimension, and a dinky little green laser pointer had nothing on your plans. You dug through your lighting supplies for an old ellipsoidal light you rescued from the abandoned theater down the road. This sucker was strong enough to light an entire stage with a single candle, and sturdy enough not to bend with the weight of the not quite steady balcony it hung from. You have gotten a much stronger beam from the built-in reflective system of theatrical lights than a rinky-dink mirror in a bottle cap. You made quick work of the assembly. The stage light locked down onto an old turntable at just shy of a 90-degree angle. The bracket only held it so straight, so it flexed as it spun. You soldered blue, green, and UV LEDs right into the opening in the back to create a cacophony of colors bouncing off the mirrors. You flicked the switch and watched the world shift to your whims. The precise angles and depths of the workshop were gone. The lights pulled and pushed in every direction, casting the super-saturated shadows big horror films wish they could get without computer tuning. The world seemed to glow as fog filled the room. It wasn't a gentle spinning light, but an infinite collection of crooked doorways to worlds unknown. Time seemed to slow as the lights opened new perspectives on the world. Nothing seemed to matter, except making the effect stretch further. There was no time to waste. The portal opens. So these are mixed media collages at the end of every chapter. You can see the jade pumpkins, which I then went and added more detail to on the actual paper. The background is watercolor on a wood panel. There's some other elements I sketched and scanned and layered in, and I finally did some digital painting on top in the final software. You knew this portal haunt would be a hit. You lost hours, even days, making sure every detail was perfect. The colors, the lights, the weight of it all would change Halloween forever in this neighborhood. You cranked up the fog straight away and set the lights spinning. It looked like there were doorways opening everywhere. The jade pumpkins seemed to float in the light. 3 portals to dimensions no one ever imagined before. You sat on the porch steps, ready to hand out treat bags to whoever navigated the expanding maze of lights. The trick-or-treaters stood in awe as they watched the chaos unfold in the yard. Entering the fog changed everything. Your skin, your clothes, your crinkled candy wrappers shifted colors so perfectly you'd imagine you always had cerulean skin and emerald hair. Everyone who passed by had to try. Cars pulled over to let their drivers explore. No one could resist the illusion of another world. Your understanding of the universe didn't apply as long as the turntable spun us all to a world of unimagined possibility. You woke up the next day confused. Every muscle ached as you breathed in the morning air. Your windows weren't open. You fell asleep outside. You never fell asleep outside before on Halloween, not even as a kid trying to recreate a holiday special. At least the timer shut off all the effects last night. You looked up as the suns rose above the horizon, fade into vibrant lime skies of fall. Your mint skin was covered in goose flesh from the early morning frost. The lawn would only stay a rich magenta a few more weeks before the chill of orange snow took over. You definitely push yourself to try more unnatural colors in your haunt next year. Why did you recreate reality when an alternative world could have been so impressive? You couldn't help but imagine what could have been if you chose a different pumpkin. And now you have the opportunity to try the other two stories. But the art is always going to reflect that you chose Jade first, and the story is going to reflect what you've learned from haunting using Jade. Haunted, a Slip Story, is available on itch.io right now. The link is in the description below. You can purchase it by itself, with the soundtrack, or with the soundtrack and the adapted short story collection, Haunted, a collection of weird fiction, featuring 6 new original stories. I'm really excited to share this project with you. I hope you enjoy it, and there will be more games like this coming in the future.